Haiti Trust News Center. This is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, global prices of rice surges to a 15-year high after India bans overseas rice exports. Bandits set church ablaze in Kaduna, killing one seminarian. Election Petition Tribunal voice election of Benue North Senator. Also in the news, Sierra Leone thrown into darkness as Turkish operator cuts power over unpaid debt. Many thanks for joining us on Trust TV's News Hour. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. It's good to see you again. Now, global prices of rice have reached a 15-year high in August after top exporter India banned some overseas sales of grains, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization in a statement on Friday. Now, while global food prices have eased in August, those of rice products rose by 9.8% compared to the previous month, reflecting trade disruptions in the aftermath of a ban on indica white rice exports by India. Now, rice is a major world food staple, and prices on the international markets have soared in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, the ongoing war in Ukraine, and the impact of the El Nino weather phenomenon on production levels. Now, India announced in July this year a ban on exports of non-basmati white rice, which accounts for around a quarter of its total output. Now, the Consumer Affairs and Food Ministry said at the time that the move would ensure adequate availability and allay the rise in the prices in the domestic market. Staying with agriculture, agriculture in Africa, if well harnessed, has the potential to solve the continent's food security challenges. In this report, Yusuf Akogo examines how African countries can leverage cross-border cooperation to provide food for its growing poor and hungry population. His report.
Agriculture in Nigeria was relegated to the background where crude oil was discovered in the late 50s. This negligence over the years has resulted in huge food insecurity being experienced in recent times. Experts are of the view that with the government's renewed commitment to security, Nigeria can maximize its potential in agriculture value chain through collaboration in Africa.
For a long time, Nigeria has been dependent on oil, and that has caused a lot of problems, inflation and the rest. So if Nigeria would develop its agricultural sector, I don't think that oil will even be relevant. You have the potential to develop to feed Africa and the rest of the world.
We have a purely natural environment. In other words, we're able to produce organic rice, and then we also, and the taste of our rice is fresh and it's nicer than what even comes from Europe. And right now in Ghana, people enjoy locally produced rice even more than what is brought from outside. And I believe that if we're able to produce it in quantity, it will easily displace what is brought from outside.
But how prepared is Nigeria for formal cross-border business deals using the instrument of African Continental Free Trade Area agreements that will propel industrialization along the agricultural value chain?
No country can be industrialized fully without source of raw materials. And most of the inputs and the requirements for producing finished goods are in agriculture. Sometimes directly and sometimes through multiple stages of processing. And therefore, this will directly impact industrial growth.
Analysts believe that leveraging agriculture value chain will boost trade volumes and values among countries in Africa. Yusuf Akogu, Trust Television News, Abuja.
Now in Kaduna, a seminarian, Stephen Naman, was killed on Thursday night, burnt when suspected bandits attacked and set ablaze the Catholic parish house, Kamanton, in Zangon Kataf local government area of the state. Now, the parish in Kamanton is under the Catholic Diocese of Kafangchang in Jama local government area of the state. Reports say the deceased seminarian died from asphyxiation while trying to escape the fire. The Kaduna State Police Command Acting Public Relations Officer ASP Mansur Al-Hassan confirmed the incident. Joseph Hayab, while addressing a news conference, urges government at all levels to ensure the security of lives and property in the area. Hayab says previously suspected bandits invaded Raphael Catholic Church in Fadang Kamantan in Catholic Church and set the church on fire, burning the seminarian alongside the church.
This is another sad reality we are facing. We have been hoping that we've gone past this issue of kidnapping and killings in Kaduna. But what happened yesterday in Fadang Kamantan further proves that we have not yet started. It should be told that in the last 1 month, if not 2 months, different kidnapping experiences have been going on around Kaduna, in Zaria, Usasa, and others. But as I speak a few days ago somewhere, I said, we have become tired of every day crying that our members have been kidnapped, crying that our family people have been kidnapped, crying that this evil is happening.
In other related security news, the theatre commander of Operation Hadinkai, Major General Gold Chibuesi, has appealed to defense correspondents and media outfits across Nigeria to sustain the tempo of peace reportage and editorials to help put an end to insurgency in northeast Nigeria. Now, the appeal was part of the theme of a media parley held with journalists in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. Here's Bitrus Kurutsi with the rest of the story.
Over the years, the Nigerian Army has been conducting numerous operations in the northeast with the aim of dislodging terrorism and restoring peace. Beyond its military approach, much support is needed from the media to help build peace and counter-insurgency operations, which is why strong collaboration and synergy with the media is paramount.
Permit me to state that the kinetic approach in any asymmetric war constitutes just 20%. Your efforts in passing the right information, sensitizing the civil populace in support of our operations, as well as the peace efforts, constitute the non-kinetic approach to the counter-insurgency operations.
The Nigerian Army said it is still willing and courageous to end the long years conflict and allow peace in the region, adding that it will not relent in its offensive operations should non-actors fail to drop arms.
It is clear that many of the terrorists too are tired of fighting. They are hungry and wish to abandon the negative life they have lived in the bush all through these years without hope of having a better with life. Yes, the military will not relent until the last member of the groups is put out of action and a peaceful, stable and prosperous atmosphere restored to the theater area of operation.
It is expected that journalists will reflect the essence of peace and nation building in its reportage as the conflict draws to a conclusion in the northeast region. Bitrus Kurutsi, Trust TV News, Maiduguri.
Back to Kaduna State, where the dilapidated state of the primary healthcare at Rigasa community in Igabi local government area of Kaduna State is worsening lack of access to quality healthcare service to residents in the area. Members of the community are worried about the lack of drugs and functional healthcare facilities needed for effective healthcare delivery to members of the community. Trust TV's Bello Musa visited the healthcare facility and sent in this report.
Rigasa is a community with a sizable population in Kaduna State. This primary health center is one of the few health facilities that people rely on for medical attention, but it is in a sorry state now due to unhygienic environment and poor facility. According to the resident, the condition of the health facilities has become a source of concern for families and pregnant women and children in the community now find it difficult to access medical attention. There is no decent restroom and a place to look after the sick. The hospital is no longer a health facility because it is in a dilapidated state. The hospital needs attention from the government. When in labor, the women in the community suffer as they only go to the general hospital in Rigasa or to private health facilities to deliver their babies, no matter how urgent the cases are. The residents are appealing to the local government to come to their aid as the facility is under the local government. We want the government to employ more workers, stock more prescriptions, drugs, and provide the necessary facilities. In fact, the hospital cannot cater for the needs of our population. We are calling on the government to come to our aid and renovate the hospital because it is the health facility that is close to us. This will enable us rush our children, pregnant women, and the aged to the facility in case of an emergency. We need more beds in the hospital and more qualified workers. Effort to reach the chairman of Igabi local government were futile. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
In a related but positive development, primary healthcare centers in Jalingo, the Taraba state capital, operators of those centers have commended Governor Agbu Kefas for equipping the facilities with necessary equipments to provide quality healthcare services to the people. Now, this was part of the message during a visit to the healthcare centers in the local council area. Here's the report.
Some of the primary healthcare centers visited revealed that patients are enjoying a conducive atmosphere while being attended to. In the township PHCC, the hospital overseer Muhammad Ibrahim Abdullahi told newsmen that all the necessary equipment used for healthcare delivery are available, but however, called on government to add more rooms to accommodate other patients. According to him, that is the only challenge they have at the center.
There is a list of the beneficiaries, but they are not patronizing. We don't know, maybe due to the facility, they didn't go and inform the people in the community. We don't know. I think this month that has passed, only 21 beneficiaries, they attended the clinic.
Lack of some equipment. Secondly, there are drugs. While we don't have, we are lacking it. Sometimes we used to prescribe it to patient and bring it so that we will serve the medication.
The in-charge Imam Clinic, Kaswan Yelwa, also applauded the governor and added that since the creation of the state, it was the first time a governor has demonstrated that level of commitment to the welfare of patients and staff in the center. He stated that the only problem they have is unavailability of over-the-counter drugs, which they often ask patients to buy outside the facility.
You know, the facility is too small. So it's just how many beds? It's only 8 beds. So we don't have enough field that we are going to expand the facility. So one of the challenge, people are patronizing to come here, but our ward is so small, it's too small.
They called on government to intensify effort for the benefit of the masses.
All right, let's circle back to that report by the Food and Agriculture Organization on the soaring prices of rice across the world, across the global market. In fact, a 15-year high in relation to the prices this augured with a 9.8% increment, largely because of that decision by India to restrict export or ban export of certain rice commodities on the international market. And joining us at this hour is the National President, Forum for Agricultural Commodity Associations. Sadiq Umar Dawari is joining us via Zoom from Yola. Good evening, and thank you very much for sparing the time. Give me your 2 cents on this situation. For most Nigerians, this has been the case for quite some time. Rice has not been affordable for a while now. What is your understanding of how this situation presents an even more precarious situation going forward?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't know if you heard the question. The question is, what is your take on this new development from the Food and Agriculture Organization about a 15-year high when it comes to price of rice commodities in the global market? And what does this mean for Nigerians who already have to struggle to put food like rice on the table because of how expensive it has been over the years?
Thank you very much. Recently, statistics has shows that within a space of 2 years, about 134 million people across the globe will face shortage of food crisis, and within a space of 2 years. So there is need for this country to wake up to this global food crisis. The immediate part administration put it as a policy to stop importation of food, particularly rice, into this country with a very good intention to support local production. So crises such as the climate change, persistent conflicts, high cost of agro inputs, and recently access to affordable input has caused a serious threat to agricultural sector, not only Nigeria, but across the globe. In addition to the conflict we have in Russia and Ukraine. So Nigeria need to wake up. Nigeria have the capacity. Nigeria have the resources, such as the land, the water, the good climate condition. So we need to be serious and produce what we can eat. That is the only way we can be sustainable in this country, and we will be the giant of Africa.
Okay. In that report earlier by Yusuf Akogu, we heard some experts from across the continent talk about the potentials of the agricultural sector, not just for Nigeria, but specifically on Nigeria, how Nigeria does have the capacity to feed the entire continent and continue to export to the rest of the world. As an insider when it comes to Nigeria's agricultural setup, give me your thoughts on the declaration by the Tinubu administration just weeks ago about a state of emergency when it comes to food security, and how this could present an opportunity for Nigerian farmers or for the Nigerian economy to fill in the gap where India is trying to withdraw some of those exports from the rest of the world.
Withdrawal of India for the export of rice did not come to us as a surprise. We knew very well that it is not India. Because of the global food crisis, many countries will attend to its domestic food crisis. So, His Excellency the President make a clarion call, and in fact, he declared state of emergency on food security in Nigeria, and that is part of his campaign promises. As I've said earlier, Nigeria has all what it takes to produce what Nigerians can eat and to export to other neighboring countries of the world. But I think first, we need to make sure that before we produce what can sustain this country, we also need to start producing input that is required to do farming in Nigeria. Inputs such as fertilizers. Fertilizers are very expensive. In fact, are not affordable to Nigerian farmers now. Agrochemicals. This is very important in germane in agri production. So we have the capacity. Our people are very hardworking. We have the land, we have the water, we have the good climate condition. I think it is only left for the government now to take it as a matter of seriousness to encourage Nigerians to produce what we can eat. And we need to be consistent. There's no point initiating a project and probably when it did not work for a year or two, you cancel that program or initiator. The countries that have developed in agri sector, they have developed over a period of years. So we need to be consistent. We need to be proactive, and government need to consistently support support its farmers. Across the globe, everywhere you go, countries subsidize agriculture, and that is the only way we can be competitive to other countries of the world.
Right. So I suppose on the opportunity of this particular situation, while Nigerians are worried about the price of the commodity reaching a 15-year high with that 9.8% from the month of August, according to this particular report, how can you juxtapose that, where Nigerians are worried about paying a lot more now for rice, and also the opportunity that it presents for farmers, an opportunity that it presents for potential agripreneurs who want to get into the business now, because there is a global opportunity to be taken at this point?
Look, you can't be competitive in agri when government does not subsidize certain aspect of the production. We know very well that the fertilizer that is very important in the cost of production, we only have one out of the three components that we use in producing fertilizer. So government need to come in, government need to be very serious this time around and consistent so that we can be able to produce very well for the country. Remember that the immediate past administration has also signed a MOU with Morocco so that we can get component of the fertilizer that we don't have readily available in Nigeria. So I think government need to activate that aspect so that we can be able to get raw material and produce agro input here in Nigeria. There's no point stopping importation of rice into this country while we import agrochemicals and other input needed for production. So we have all what it takes. So we need to do, in as much as we want to produce and sustain Nigerian in terms of food and consumption, we also need to be sure that we produce the agri input that is required for the production in Nigeria.
Right. I believe there are a lot of factors militating the growth of the agriculture sector, and as far as rice as a commodity is concerned, alongside other produces, there is a lot more to unpack on this one. But we're going to have to leave it here for now. Thank you very much for joining us on the News Hour. Sadiq Umar Dawari, National President, Forum for Agricultural Commodity Associations. Thank you for your analysis. Right, we move on to some of the day's other news now. And the Sokoto State government has distributed relief materials worth millions of naira to thousands of victims of the 2022 flood disaster in the state. Addressing the victims during the flagging off of the distribution of the materials, the state governor, Ahmed Aliyu, says the materials were provided by the Sokoto State government with support from Special National Economic and Livelihood Emergency Intervention Program. 15,668 victims suffered from the flooding in the state in 2022. Items donated to the victims of the flooding disaster include food items, building materials and household materials. Governor Aliyu commended President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for initiating the palliative program to alleviate the sufferings of the less privileged in the country. The APC National Chairman Abdullahi Umar Ganduje charged people of the state to support the administration for more developments in the state.
The commitment of my administration in ensuring that our youth become gainfully employed through various skill acquisitions in the state.
For those victims of the flood, we assure you, today we will collect some food items that will assist you. We will also collect some building materials to assist you. And this program is a program between federal government and the government of Sokoto State.
In other news, public health stakeholders are raising alarm over Nigeria's worsening cases of child malnutrition, especially as food prices continue to skyrocket. Now, they are calling on the government to act proactively in addressing child malnutrition across the country. Hamid Oyegbade reports.
The nutrition and food security in Nigeria have become issues of serious concern as the cost of living soars due to skyrocketing prices of food. According to the KEDA Harmonized 2023 data, 17.7 million people in Nigeria are hungry. The recent fuel subsidy removal compounded the situation. The children are the worst hit as 23.5 million children in the country are said to be suffering from anemia, with 12 million stunted, while 3 million are ill due to malnutrition.
I remember during the antenatal days, they tell us whatever we eat now will add up to their brain development. And of course, any child that is not brainy ends up being dull, and then the future is, of course, a very bad one.
Because normally before, the money that we used to buy multiple things, you use it and buy one thing, and it's affecting us. It's affecting the poor masses. We can't feed.
Many of them now, they are not going to school because there is no money in the country. There is no job. So that is why it affected the children. Because when it affected the father and the mother, it will affect the children.
When the child is hungry, the child begins to think things that are negative. The child will think about positive. The child is not thinking about tomorrow.
The United Nations Children Fund is calling on the government to scale up the implementation of preventive actions and also to provide access to treatment of all forms of malnutrition.
So the nutrition situation in the country now is one that requires urgent attention, and we also need to focus and see how we can implement preventive actions to prevent malnutrition from even happening in the first place. But then when we are unable to prevent, and in order to respond to the children and the populations who are currently suffering from malnutrition, put in place treatment and facilitate access to treatment of all forms of malnutrition so that we can have a healthier population that can contribute to our economic growth.
Nigerians also want the government to address the malnutrition challenge so that the nation can produce healthy children with sound minds. Amit Oyegbade reporting for Trust TV.
You're watching the news hour on Trust TV. Coming up ahead after the break, we take a look at the story on young Kano fabricators making breakthrough inventions. More on this and many other stories coming up ahead after the break.
But as an elder, a most prominent son of the area, yes, were you able to intervene to help sort out the problem?
Yes.
So you are detained because of the riot without knowing what it was all about?
Exactly. I was just framed up. And how did it happen?
Trust TV presents a riveting exclusive interview with General Zamani Lekwot. In the comfort of his home in Kaduna, the retired general went over his long life and recalled the tragic events that led to loss of hundreds of lives in his hometown, Zangun Kataf, in May 1992.
There was nothing connected with me about a market riot. I have no shop there. I don't live in the town. They don't know me. People who did it wanted to hide the truth. Either to blackmail me or to placate me for whatever reasons, only they know.
Revealing his side of the story, General Lekwot said he was framed, tried, convicted and pardoned for a crime he did not commit in the first place.
When Babangida government saw that there was no case in the case, Decree number 55 of 1973 was enacted, directing the tribunal to send all their proceedings to Abuja, barring us from appealing. Then the hostility of Justice Okadibo, who appeared to be a hired agent, because he violated the legal proceedings in court. He was supposed to be a high court judge.
It is all in reminiscences next Saturday, September 9th at 8 p.m. with the repeat on Thursday, September 14th at 10 p.m. only on your trusted television channel.
Welcome back to the news and thank you very much for staying with us. Here's a quick reminder of our top stories at this hour. Global rice prices surges to a 15-year high after India bans overseas rice exports. Suspected bandits set Catholic seminarian ablaze in fresh Kaduna church attack. Now, a man suspected of vandalizing power cables has died from electrocution at the premises of the Niger State Printing Press in Kateren-Gwari area of Minna, the state capital. Now, staff of the agency say the lifeless body of the suspect was found with some of the vandalized armored cables near the transformer that supplies power to the agency on Friday morning. Now, the staff say the suspect reportedly gained entrance into the premises of the agency through the back where the fence had recently collapsed. When contacted, the Niger State Police Command's Public Relations Officer, DSP Wasiu Abiodun, confirmed the incident. The head of the legal department of the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, Niger Regional Office, Aminu Ibeto, also confirmed the development. Now, the National Assembly Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, has voted the election of the All Progressives Congress Senator Emmanuel Udende as member of the upper chamber of the National Assembly. The tribunal declared Gabriel Suswan of the People's Democratic Party as the winner of the February 25th election for Benue Northeast Senatorial District. Suswan, a member of the 9th Assembly, had lost his bid to return to the Senate during the election, but approached the tribunal arguing that Udende did not score majority of the lawful vote cast in the February 25th exercise for Benue North East Senatorial District. Chairman of the three-man panel, Justice Ori Zik Ekiora, and another member ruled in favor of Suswan and PDP, and the justices averred that Suswan and the PDP fulfilled the requirement of the law in providing their case of irregularities such as mutilation, non-signing of documents, non-inclusion of lawful votes, among many others. But in a minority judgment, Justice Umar Mohammed held that the petitioner failed to prove his case. Mohammed held that Suswan, who called 19 witnesses, most of whom were irrelevant as the irregularities complained of where the polling units, and instead called ward agents instead of the polling units agents concerned. Suswan and the PDP's petition was predicated on the ground that Udende did not score majority of the lawful vote cast during the election. The Chief Imam of Kano State, Professor Sani Zahraddin, has stressed the need for more universities being established in order to facilitate access to higher learning across northern Nigeria. Addressing members of the governing council of the newly accredited Khalifa Ishaku University, the Chief Imam, who doubles as the chairman of the Institute Board of Trustees, says more institutions of higher learning in northern Nigeria will help ameliorate some of the region's economic and social problems. Trust TV's Idris Jibrin reports.
Establishment of a university dedicated to Quranic education may help change the mindset of Al-Majri school pupils to aspire for higher Quranic knowledge. Professor Sani Zahraddin believes that the key to a nation's socio-economic development, which requires the sacrifice of any well-intended individual, is education. And that even though Khalifa Isiaka Rabiu is not present to see this day, his legacy of founding these institutions will live on forever.
The idea of establishing a university in Kano by our father, our teacher, of blessed memory, we wish you Allah's guidance and protection.
Worried over the lack of adequate institutions of higher learning that offer higher Quranic education to address limitation of Sangaya system across northern Nigeria, leader of the Tijaniya sect, late Khalifa Isiaka Rabiu, conceived the idea of establishing the university during his lifetime, but his dream will become a reality after his death.
In 1465, a university was established right here in Kano. That university was Madabo University. And that university has retained an excellent tradition of scholarship. And this university, Cairo, is revolutionary in the sense that it continued the tradition of Madabo University, but in a contemporary time.
The university got National University Commission approval in May 2022 to provide courses on many fields of studies. Now these Islamic scholars, educators and community leaders are gathered here to fulfill the late Khalifa's long-hearted dream.
National University Committee approved 18 programs, but the committee where I was talking about advised us to begin with 16, to put 2 on hold until next year.
While commending this expert for accepting to govern the institute, Rabiu Isiaka reveals that the university evolved out of his late father's philosophy and passion for knowledge delivery among all classes of people, regardless of their economic status.
This milestone is a testament to the unwavering commitment of our founder, Khalifa Sheikh Isiaku Rabiu, of blessed memory, whose passion and love for quality education have driven him to establish the Muhammad Rabiu Islamic Foundation International. Through this foundation, he has relentlessly pursued his mission to propagate education of the highest quality, at the highest level, in the best forms.
Professor Musa Borodo, Professor Abdullah Uba Adamu, retired Vice Admiral Awal Zubairu, and representative of the Kano State Government are some of the members of the Institute's Governing Council under the chairmanship of Professor Kabiru Isiaku. Idris Jubrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
Well, as Nigerians continue to express their opinions on the performance of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in his first 100 days in office, a cross-section of youths have added their voices in assessing the performance of the president. Trust TV's Noel Sampson has more on their views.
Across the length and breadth of the nation, Nigerians have been assessing the performance of the president since he took over power in May this year. They based their verdict on the issue of the economy, workers' welfare, security, as well as the strike action by the Nigeria Labour Congress.
We've seen the vision of the president and we know his plans for the country. So we are only waiting to see those plans manifest, because we really don't want situations whereby some rich will continue to get richer while the poor will continue to get poorer. We've seen his plans, and we can only pray that he has the political will to execute those plans as it has been arranged.
What I always say to people is that you cannot judge a government in just 3 months. Rather, let us all focus on the promises of the president, and in due time, just like the president said, by December he will deliver Port Harcourt refinery. So let's give him time and watch. When you want to govern a nation like Nigeria, difficult decision must be taken. As such, the hardship we are facing in Nigeria today, I believe, is just for a little time. So I'm begging Nigerians to just give the president time. Let's see what his plans will bring out for Nigeria.
There are effects of giving the government, is it 5 billion or 2 billion? At the end of the day, it's only some group of people that are going to benefit from this. And I think since the subsidy, this is one of the major effects, this palliative, the effects to caution the subsidy, and then is the palliative. And now the palliatives are not even given to the poor and needy that needs the palliative. Instead, some part of the rich are actually taking this palliative to go and resell in markets.
Nigerians are hopeful that the president will work areas of concern and noticeable lapses in order to move Nigeria forward. Noel Sampson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, as part of efforts to ensure that the palliative meant to cushion the effect of the removal of fuel subsidy are evenly distributed among the citizenry, the government of Imo State has begun distributing grains to beneficiaries across the state. First among the beneficiaries are pensioners and the Christian Association of Nigeria in the state. Trust TV's Ajibade Awofesho has more on the story.
Present to lift their portion of the palliative is the state chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN. For them, the distribution is coming at a time the food items are most needed. They appreciated the governor for being transparent with the sharing formula and not allowing the old unpleasant story of palliative being hijacked by politicians and leaving the masses stranded to continue. They promised to continue praying for the well-being of the state and federal government.
They have extended hands of help unto us in giving succor to the helpless and greedy afflicted through sponsoring cash grants of empowerment during our Founders Day. We use it to reach down to the grassroots and look for people, rich people who are really needy. And His Excellency has been there for the church all this while.
Every other block lifted on Friday, but because I'm the leader of it, it's better I don't have than to say no other blocks. So they have all received. The local government all have received. My local government, of course, is the last local government to receive the local government of the government. The last local government to receive. It's not coincidence, but it's a deliberate act to make sure that we serve everybody before we serve ourselves.
Making the official presentation of the bags of rice to the CAN leadership, the Director of Administration and Finance, Julia Ukaigwe, on behalf of the state government, handed 2,000 bags over to them.
This is our 50 kg rice. 2,000 bags.
Share with us their problems, those in hospitals, those that are going through one or two difficulties and affliction, and we keep putting down their names. If we are privileged to have such a time as this, we also call them to this is where we do.
And it's never been heard that a governor is lost this level of reliance of the church. He's not the first governor of the state, but he's never been this good. We commend the governor for what he is doing, and we pray that the hand of God will continue to be upon him to accomplish every detail of assignment that the Lord has given to him to accomplish. Amen.
The leadership and members of the Christian Association of Nigeria called on the people of the state to be patriotic and continue to pray for the peace of the state. Ajibade Awofeso, Trust TV News, Owerri.
The Federal Road Safety Corps in Ogun State has said that 2 persons have died while another sustained injury in an accident that involved 2 vehicles and 2 motorcycles on Abeokuta-Lagos Expressway. The sector commander, Anthony Uga, confirmed the incident to newsmen on Friday in Ota. Uga says that 3 persons were involved in the accident, which led to the death of 2 persons, a male adult and a female adult, while a male adult sustained severe injuries. The sector commander said that the accident was caused by wrongful overtaking and excessive speed on the part of the trailer driver, leading to a head-on collision with the 2 motorcycles and a Volkswagen vehicle. Uga says that the FRSC operatives in Sango Ota unit of the command carried out rescue operations on the Abeokuta-Lagos Expressway to ensure the free flow of traffic in the area. He also commiserated with the families of the deceased and prayed God should grant them the fortitude to bear the losses. Now, Nigeria's lack of stable, portable running water and inadequate toilet facilities is a major contributing or have been a major contributing factors to poor hygiene, which indirectly exposes women to sexual abuse while using unsecure spaces like bushes for their convenience. In this report, Chamung Dabeng explores the connection between poor hygiene practices and gender-based violence. Her report.
One of such crimes perpetrated against Nigerians in vulnerable states is that of sexual gender-based violence, SGBV. Sexual gender-based violence has remained a menace to the Nigerian society, showing very little signs of slowing down. Experts believe it can be traced to poor toilet facilities and inadequate attention to water sanitation and hygiene, otherwise known as WASH.
You know, people are talking about infrastructures. Now, some of the infrastructures they are using in the public places are not in tune with the present day realities. How do we come up with infrastructure that will speak, you know, to best global realities, you know, in recent times? So those are part of the things, you know, that we have been talking about, you know, advocating, talking to different stakeholders, then enlightening public about how they can keep the environment clean, you know, again, about how, you know, we can mitigate the issue of SGBV, so that at the end of the day, people will get to know about it. We need to create a lot of awareness and advocacy around it for the stakeholders, for people to really know what are the examples of SGBV. There are so many.
The United Nations Population Fund says 1 in 3 women will have experienced gender-based violence by the age of 15 and are stigmatized by the society despite being victims. On the flip side, some women are perpetrators of SGBV, but there is very little information to show the prevalence of the menace against men, which indicates the society has ignored the plight of men who are being abused.
So rape is something that we have to frown against, everybody. whether you are a man or a woman, whether you are a girl or a boy. So, and that's exactly why we are putting out sensation there, then encouraging victims to speak up too. But again, when we are doing that, we have to be very careful. Careful in the sense that we need to protect the identity of the victim.
The act of shaming victims of SGBV is an act which must come to a permanent end to encourage victims of both genders to speak up. Legal processes must also ensure justice for victims, while the judiciary must instill harsher punishments that will deter perpetrators. Traditional and religious leaders also have a role to play.
For the traditional, if it warrants us still having a little bit of that little traditional call to serve as deterrent to this kind of menace, we might have to invoke the gods, because these creatures were bound to be respected. They should be respected because God did not create us for abuse. We will have a last call center to answer, and that is the call of God to answer what were our responsibility as traditional rulers and as religion leaders of those societies.
Stakeholders agree that parents need to be more involved in the lives of their children to provide guidance in order to curtail the menace of SGBV in Nigeria. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
In Kano, a set of 12-year-old twins have invented a cooking gas that uses petrol and water, while a 14-year-old has also invented a remote-controlled vehicle. Now, Trust TV's Idris Jibrin reports that an application that allows people to have access to purchasing food items directly from the farm has also been developed as part of an exhibition in the state. His report.
Supported by the Center for Information Technology and Development, these young boys had taken the initiative of inventing items that could be of great importance to the nation's economy if perfected.
In this country, two things are lacking. First thing that is lacking is that we have no venture capital. Venture capitals are people who come and listen to these ideas and then put money. Look, this idea is good, I am investing into it. And they put money and say, okay, if I go and develop this, I own 40% of what your business will become. It's just confidence. So we have no that. But we also don't have interaction between innovators and media.
Hassan and Usaini invented a cooking gas that uses both petrol and water to function, while Muazzam Ibrahim invented a remote-control ambulance vehicle. Other inventions by these young boys include CCTV camera, a mobile application that allows farmers to sell their farm produce directly from farm, among others.
So the essence of the application is for farmers to sell their product directly from their farm. Not just individual people or users can just open the application and see all the products available in someone's farm.
According to CITED, the initiative was supported to give these young ones the opportunity to prove themselves into the world of science and technology.
There's nothing I cherish like seeing young people coming up with ideas that people can appreciate. This is what we need in this country. And if we can develop these young minds, I always tell them, we have talent in this country. All we need is the correct environment. See, if you have not been brought out from where you are, would you ever think of doing all these things that you have done?
For these young scientists, if supported, there will be plenty of innovative ideas to be developed for the overall growth and development of the nation's economy. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria says it has directed or redirected processing of passengers through the new terminal at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos effective immediately. Now, this was made known in a statement released by the Director of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection at the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN, Abdullahi Yakubu, on Thursday. He says the expedited relocation of the new international terminal at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport was deemed necessary due to the unfortunate fire incident that occurred at the International Airport Terminal 1 the day before. Now let's bring you up to speed with the latest in business, and to do that, we join Chiamaka Nwafo.
The foreign exchange market trading ended on Friday with Naira losing 1.41% against the dollar, the parallel market, popularly called black market. $1 traded at the rate of 930 Naira on Friday, which was lower than 970 Naira traded at the beginning of the trading week at the black market. Data from FMDQ quoted that at the investors and exporters IE Forex window, Naira appreciated by 4.53% as the dollar was quoted at 736 Naira 62 kobo on Thursday, compared with 771 Naira 59 kobo on Wednesday, and also higher than 744.97 kobo quoted on Tuesday. Nigeria's central bank on June 4th in 2023 collapsed all segments of foreign exchange markets into the investors and exporters forex window. And finally, taxes paid by manufacturers in 2023 increased by 115% from 192 billion naira in the first quarter to 414.5 billion naira in the second quarter. Data collated from various company income tax and value-added tax reports published by the National Bureau of Statistics revealed this. According to findings, in the first quarter of 2023, manufacturers paid 62.9 billion naira as CIT, while 129.2 billion naira was paid as value-added tax. In the second quarter, the VAT paid by manufacturers increased by 17% to 151.7 billion naira, while CIT increased to 262.7 billion naira. This meant that manufacturers paid at least 607 billion naira in CIT and VAT in the first 6 months of the year. Data also showed that across the VAT and CIT remittances in 2023, the manufacturing sector was the most taxed sector in the first and second quarters of the year. It was closely followed by the financial services sector and information communications technology. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Nwafo.
Let's turn our attention now to developments on the international scene, and we start with Sierra Leone, where the capital, Freetown, has been hit by power cuts. Its energy minister said on Friday after Turkey's car power ship switched off electricity supply due to an unpaid debt to the tune of $40 million. Minister Kanja Sise said that the outstanding amount was accrued over time because the government subsidizes more than half the cost the ship charges per kilowatt. Now, he said the government had to spend more on the subsidy because it charges consumers in the weak local currency known as the Leone currency, one of the worst performing against the United States dollar, in which the government uses to pay its power provider. Now, a government commission has been set up to review consumer electricity tariffs, which could double. Car Power Ship, one of the world's largest operators of floating power plants and part of the Caradenis Energy Group, signed deals in 2018 and 2020 to provide electricity to Sierra Leone State Power Utility. A United Nations-backed court in the Central African Republic says it has charged ex-rebel leader Abdullahi Hissène with crimes against humanity and war crimes. Now, one of the poorest countries in the world, the Central African Republic, was plunged into a bloody sectarian conflict after Seleka rebels, a coalition of armed groups mainly composed of Muslims, removed President Francois Bozize in early 2013. Now, the Special Criminal Court handles cases concerning war crimes and crimes against humanity dating back to 2003. Hissène, ex-military chief of the FPRC, faction of the former Seleka rebellion, has been held in detention after he was arrested on Monday. Now, in 2022, he announced his departure from the armed movement during reconciliation talks initiated by President Faustin Archange Touadéra. Now, the court says it had charged Hissène with, quote, several crimes against humanity and war crimes committed on the territory of the Central African Republic in 2017 in his capacity as leader of the rebel group. Liverpool defender Virgil van Dijk has been charged by the English Football Association for his reaction to being sent off during his side's 2-1 victory at Newcastle this past weekend. The Liverpool captain was shown a red card by referee John Brooks for a foul on Newcastle forward Alexander Isak for what was deemed by the official to be a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. Virgil van Dijk protested the decision and remained on the field while the incident was reviewed by the VAR team. But once the red card was confirmed and upheld by VAR, Van Dijk reacted angrily to the decision and was seen to verbally complain to the fourth official, Stuart Outwell, as he headed towards the players' tunnel at St James's Park. The FA confirmed Tuesday that Virgil van Dijk was found to have been using abusive and/or insulting language or displayed a failure to leave the field after being sent off. The Netherlands international could potentially have a game added to his automatic one-match suspension for the red card. In other sports news, staying with football, agents' fees for international transfers in the year 2023 are nearing $1 billion, according to football's world governing body FIFA. In its international transfer snapshot collated after the transfer window in all the major European leagues closed, FIFA said the overall spending on deals where players switched countries between June 1st and 1st of September was $7.36 billion in the men's game, which is up by 47% on last year. Now, it was $3 million in the women's game, an increase of 140%. FIFA says the total amount paid to agents during the transfer window has risen to $696 million, which corresponds to nearly 10% of total spending on transfer fees, if it compares to the 5.8% in 2013. Well, that's the size of our bulletin at this hour. Thank you most kindly for joining us. Do feel free, as always, to follow us across our social media platforms to keep up with our content, and visit trusttv.com for more news. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for watching, and good night.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.